How to knit the cable cast on. Hi everyone, my name is Norman and today I want to show you the wonderful cable cast on knitting method. The cable cast on creates a somewhat sturdy and quite clean edge that can be excellent for picking up stitches. It's very easy to do and you don't need to leave a long tail either. Plus, it works for a lot of different knitting stitch patterns. Let's show you how to knit it and some very interesting variations. Start with a simple slip knot any way you like. I always do it like this. And then pick up your second knitting needle and insert it into that slip knot from left to right. Wrap the yarn around counterclockwise, pull through. Essentially, you're knitting one stitch into that slip knot. And now don't drop the slip knot off the needle. Instead, slip that loop you created back to the left needle. This was just one preparation stitch. From here, we can start with the actual cable cast on. So, insert your right knitting needle into the gap between the first and the second stitch. Make sure that you don't accidentally split the yarn. Wrap the yarn around counterclockwise and pull through. And now slip back the loop you created back to the left needle point to point. Again, insert into the gap between the first and second stitch, wrap around counterclockwise and pull through. Slip back to the left needle. Insert into the gap, wrap around counterclockwise and pull through. Slip back to the left needle. Let's do that a couple of more times in slow motion. If you are a continental knitter like me, try to knit a bit looser than normal, otherwise it will be quite difficult to pull the yarn through. Now, here's one very important variation. You can also slip the loops back to the knitting needle twisted. So you grab your loop like this. And now you don't slip it back to the knitting needle point to point, but instead you twist your knitting needle around like this. Again, you grab the yarn, pull through the loop, and now slip it back to the knitting needle twisted. If you do it like this, you will create an edge that is even more solid than the regular cable cast on. Here's one tip that applies to both methods. Often the cable cast on will create a somewhat rounded edge here on the right side. To avoid this, you can simply cast on one additional stitch. So once you cast on the required number of stitches, cast on one additional stitch. And as you start knitting across, you carefully, without overstretching these loops, knit them together before you start knitting according to your pattern. And if you do it like this, you will create a really nice square edge here. Another important thing to know is that you can use the cable cast on in the middle of a project. So instead of knitting across from here, you insert your knitting needle into the gap between the first and second stitch and pull a loop through. Insert, pull through. Insert, pull through. So it's the exact same technique, only done in the middle of a project instead of here at the very start. And here's one last thing. You can also do the cable cast on the purl side. So you start with a simple slip knot, bring the yarn to the front, and then you insert the second knitting needle into that slip knot from right to left, and then you purl one stitch. And then you slip that stitch back to the left needle. This was just the preparation stitch. And now you insert your knitting needle into the gap between these stitches from behind, wrap the yarn around counterclockwise and pull through. And then you slip that stitch back to the knitting needle point to point. Again, insert into the gap between first and second stitch, wrap around counterclockwise, pull through, slip back to the left needle, insert, wrap, pull through, slip back. Let's do that a couple of more times in slow motion. If you do the cable cast on the purl side, you will create this, well, almost seamless edge here for the purl side. And even on the knit side, this creates such a lovely seamless edge. Isn't this beautiful? I mean, it's not stretchy, but very beautiful. But there is another application. You can also knit an alternating cable cast on. Here's how. So you start with your slip knot and your one preparation stitch, and then you do one cable cast on the regular way and slip that back to your knitting needle. Then you bring the yarn to the front and do one cable cast on stitch purlwise. Bring the yarn to the back, do one regular cable cast on, bring the yarn to the front and do one purlwise. Bring the yarn to the back, do a regular cable cast on, and then bring the yarn to the front and do one purlwise. And then if you knit across in a 1x1 rib stitch, you create this beautiful edge that almost looks like a tubular cast on. Isn't this pretty? Sadly, it's not as stretchy. Anyway, that's how to do the cable cast on. Please like this video if you enjoyed watching, comment with your feedback and your questions, and of course, don't forget to subscribe in case you don't want to miss any new videos. Happy knitting and enjoy the rest of your day.